All right, YouTube, giving credence once again to what Trump has been saying for the last 6 or 7 months. Uh, Kasich and Cruz, that is John Kasich, 38 and 1, I believe was the term Kasich, and Ted Cruz, Lion Ted, are now actively colluding to stop Trump from getting the nomination out right now. This smacks of so much fucking desperation. I don't know what advisor or staff member on Cruz's team told him this was a good idea. I have a feeling it's probably going to backfire. You see, the one thing that sort of propped Ted Cruz up enough so he can win a state here and there at least is the fact that a lot of his fans, once again, I keep returning to this issue, think he's an outsider. He's not, but it doesn't matter. The truth in many ways regarding a politician matters a lot less than how they present themselves, what people are led to believe about that politician. It's like Hillary Clinton. Most of us know she's a chronic liar. She hasn't really accomplished anything. She has no real credentials. She's sure as hell not ready to be the president of the United States. But a lot of people think, oh, it's some great thing because, number one, she's a Clinton, so they have visions of 99 cent a gallon gas and another dot-com boom or something like that. And number two, she happens to have ovaries. With Ted Cruz, he's an insider. He's a sitting U.S. senator. His wife has ties to Goldman Sachs. He's taking the corporate donations. He's taking the banking donations. He abandoned Rand Paul on Audit the Fed. He abandoned Rand Paul on the NSA. He abandons all common sense every time he speaks. But his fans think he's an outsider still. I mean, some of these people are a little bit odd. It's kind of like people who think that Trump is going to be like the next Hitler, and so they're like Sieg Heil white nationalists voting for him. He's not actually going to be, but they've deluded themselves into thinking so. Ted Cruz and Kasich now have essentially, by this email shenanigan, they've proven what I've been saying for a while, which is they know they can't win. Ted Cruz has been, if Ted Cruz were to win every remaining delegate in every remaining state, he still wouldn't cross 1237. And indeed, the way things are going, even with this collusion, Trump's still going to go into the convention having the most delegates. Now, if Trump gets 1,200 delegates or 1,100 delegates on the first ballot, don't you think it's going to be a little bit difficult to get 300 or 400 of his delegates to abandon him to solely vote for somebody like Ted Cruz? I think what he's trying to do with Kasich is maneuver into a position where Cruz and Kasich combined have just enough delegates between the two of them to squeeze over 1237. But it's increasingly unlikely that that too is capable of actually happening. The problem is Trump is going to gobble up tomorrow. That's the next big primary. He's going to gobble up almost all the delegates. He's going to get way more than the margin that he needs. He needs, I think it was 53 or 58% of the remaining delegates to cross 1237. I think he'll probably get 75, 80, maybe 85% of those delegates. In a couple of the states, he's going to get them all. In Pennsylvania, he's going to get all the winner-take-all style delegates. Then there are a bunch that are allotted differently, and in some districts he'll get one or two, in others he won't get any. It'll be difficult. He'll be the victor, but not by as large a margin. And then a couple of the states it's more proportional. I believe in Delaware it's winner take all, which is funny. He's leading by like 40 points in the state of Delaware. There are new polls today. He's extended his lead. He's still in the lead in Indiana. He's now further ahead in California, which is the big prize of the entire primary process that doesn't vote for a while. What I predict is that after tonight, when the shock sets in for Cruz and Kasich, regardless of this collusion, that Kasich is still down near where, Marco Rubio was a month and a half ago, delegate-wise. When they realize that Cruz is struggling to even get halfway to 1237 while Trump's already near 1,000, a lot of Ted Cruz's fans will abandon him, though this collusion, which is not going to help him perform any better, could be the icing on the cake for Trump. Because now not only will there be people leaving his camp because he can't win without a brokered convention, which a lot of them don't want, and they'll start to feel more positively towards Trump, which now can legitimately claim, yeah, I'm trying, people are trying to screw me. Now, number two, those who jumped aboard the Cruz missile, which I dropped a Cruz missile in the toilet this morning, may start to abandon him because it's now clear he's working with Kasich, he's working with RNC members, he's working with all these figures. He's not an outsider. And this just proves that the point more further. Therefore, I think that Trump is going to actually increase his support a little bit more than he otherwise would have after the 26th primary, which is tomorrow. I would have guessed, yeah, he'll a couple points less for Cruz across the board, jumps into the Trump camp, gets Trump at about 45 to 50, which is a comfortable lead. It's about what he needs, especially if he outperforms on the 26th. Then goes on to do fair if he wins Indiana, especially he then gets a springboard for California and these other states. Cruz is trying to stack the deck in Washington State and Oregon. I don't know if that's going to work. Kasich is trying to focus on his own states. I don't think it's actually going to stop Trump from crossing 1237, because what you saw like with Romney around May, the last time around with the nomination process, when it became clear he was inevitable, he then suddenly shot up in the polls. It wasn't that people necessarily liked Mitt Romney. A lot of them, they were Santorum evangelicals. They were Gingrich, more native or populist, you might say, so like Southerners, deep Southerners. They jumped aboard Mitt Romney's campaign solely because they realized the fight was over. He was going to be the nominee. They said, well, we got to beat Obama, which they didn't, so we'll coalesce behind Romney. The only people who failed to do that really were Ron Paul's supporters. They stayed loyal to the end and were very, very bitter at the GOP. And that would have tipped, by the way, the election in the Republicans' favor if they had treated Ron Paul better, if they had allowed him a speaking spot, if they had maybe offered him a cabinet position, maybe make him Treasury or something like that, Secretary of the Treasury. I'm sure that would have went over well with the Koch brothers, but you know what I mean. No, the active collusion that Kasich is trying to shrug off, and Ted Cruz is saying, well, it's just part of the process, it's just fine. Most people, though, will not see it that way. Again, like before, it may not break any rules, much like Colorado and Wyoming just allotting their delegates however the fuck they see fit. It may not be strictly speaking against the rules of the process. The problem is that many people within the party see it as dishonest. Therefore, by proxy, they see Ted Cruz as dishonest, and now Kasich as dishonest. I have a feeling a lot of Kasich's fans, if they get a hint that he's not sort of this quiet, by-the-rules centrist, and he's actually actively colluding with someone that a lot of Kasich's fans see as a crazy evangelical from Canada, they'll jump aboard the Trump train as well. This could actually be a big gift to Trump going into states, again, like California or Indiana. It could bode well for him. Not that, again, I think he really needs the help. He's already inevitable. He will be the Republican nominee. All this banter about a second ballot or so, it's not going to actually do anything. You think that Ted Cruz is going to be capable with all the problems that he has as a candidate? Or Kasich, who's, I think he's still under 200 delegates. You think either of them are going to be able to grab up that many people to win on a second ballot? After a second, let's say that Trump falls short. He gets 1,150. His delegate total on the second ballot will be lower. It'll still be up above 1,000 probably. But neither Cruz nor Kasich is going to achieve 1237 on the second ballot either. When it becomes clear that their plan to embezzle delegates by trying to wine and dine them, trying to threaten them, trying to bribe them has failed, most of those people will then go right back to Trump. Indeed, most of Kasich and Cruz's supporters will too, because more delegates in the room will be pledged to Trump to begin with. They're all going to vote for him on the first ballot. There are going to be, tens of thousands of protesters outside saying Trump or die. There are going to be a hell of a lot of people on the media covering it frenetically. From the end of primary voting all the way 41 days, I believe, later to the actual convention, and things will hit a boil, as though they haven't already within the Republican process. I would be very surprised if Trump was not the nominee. Additionally, think of it this way. Cruz can take Goldman Sachs money and offer like 5-star hotel gigs and lobster dinners and stuff to delegates to vote for him on the second ballot all he wants. Does this force that delegate to actually do so? The answer is no. Some of these people probably express public dismay for Trump just to get Ted Cruz to pay for their next car or something. I would. If I was a Republican delegate pledged to Trump and Ted Cruz came forward and said, hey, here's a 5-star hotel ticket or something, I'd take it. Of course if he offered me $1,000, if he offered me I wouldn't take a lobster dinner, maybe a sirloin steak dinner or something. Of course I'd take it. It wouldn't change the way that I would vote, but thanks for the gift, Ted. You're rich. You can certainly afford it. I'm very glad that you're trying to fatten me up here, but ultimately it's not going to change my mind one bit. I'll pretend maybe that it will, but will it? Hell no. And a lot of these delegates will think the same way. If Ted Cruz is going to offer them something, they're not going to sit there and reject it necessarily. It doesn't mean that they're going to necessarily support him on the second ballot. And what of Kasich? What if Kasich grabs up 200 or 300 delegates? What if some of Cruz's delegates go over to Kasich, some of Kasich's go over to Cruz, some of Trump's go to Cruz and Kasich, some of theirs go to Trump? It's going to be complete chaos. It also doesn't mean, by the way, that the RNC magically is going to say, okay, well, the show's over after the second ballot. Obviously, nobody can get to 1237 because Trump would win on the third ballot, trust me. And so here's Mitch McConnell will be he'll run, or Paul Ryan. It's just not going to happen. There aren't really a lot of figures within the Republican Party right now who aren't actively campaigning who really could even be viable. And then there's the Marco Rubio factor. What would happen if Trump were to say to Rubio, hey, little Marco, want to be my VP, want to be Treasury Secretary, want to be Secretary, want this cabinet position or that, accolade? How about ambassador to Japan or something? What if he comes in, offers Marco something, says, hey, pledge your delegates to me? That gets him over 1237 right there. He doesn't need Kasich. He doesn't need Cruz. He'll win on the first ballot. He could very well do such a thing. It would be fairly easy for him to get Marco to come and say, yeah, my delegates, you're voting for Trump now. I'm not in the race. You vote for Trump on the first ballot. I'm pledging you to that. Well, there you go. He wins. And he's got the capability to do that. Obviously, Kasich has hedged his bet for a brokered convention to get, VP slot or something with Cruz. It's not going to work. So while Trump's fans shouldn't be particularly worried, I mean, yes, it's a desperate move by two candidates who are completely flatlining as far as their campaign goes. Yeah, it is completely dishonest. Thankfully, though, for you Trump fans, it's likely to hurt Cruz most of all. Trump far less. It's not really going to do anything. It's certainly in these 5 states coming up on the 26th, Trump is leading so heavily everywhere except in Pennsylvania that it's unthinkable. He's going to win Connecticut. He's going to win Rhode Island and Delaware. That's basically assured. He's almost certain to win Maryland. In Pennsylvania, he's almost sure to at least get the 17 delegates that are up as far as the statewide winner. Kasich, he's nowhere to be seen. He's not even going to be on that part of the ballot. As for the delegates, Cruz will probably win a few of those. Kasich will probably win a few, and Trump will win some as well. But at the end of the night, Trump's going to be either close to or at about 1,000. He's going to be the inevitable nominee after tomorrow night. There's nothing that Ted Cruz and Kasich can do about it. Even if they won every remaining delegate, neither of them would supplant Trump as the front runner. It would become mathematically impossible. The calls for them both to just quit it and let Trump win will become more frenetic over that course of time. They shouldn't do it. I mean, they should still stay in. Otherwise, it just looks like a fucking retarded process. But they're not going to win. They're not going to be the Republican nominees. Trump will. That's about all. Peace out.